I'm a privacy advocate who's worked in tech and cybersecurity for a really long time, and I wanted to put together a quick Signal tutorial for folks who are new to the app. It's a great app for secure text messages and voice calls and video calls, but installing the app only gets you about 80% of the way there. You need to go into the app and make some changes to the settings to make sure it lines up with your privacy expectations. As you can see here with my app, it's locked. I use biometrics. I use my fingerprint to unlock it. But that's not a setting that's turned on by default. If you lose your phone and someone opens it up, if they get past your PIN or your passcode, they'll be able to go right in and read all of your Signal messages unless you turn this setting on. So in the upper right hand corner, you see these three dots. Click on that and go to settings. And on the settings screen, the third option down is privacy. The very top option here is screen lock, and by default, it's turned off. All you have to do is flip the switch to turn it on, and then it's going to require you log in with either a PIN, passcode, or a fingerprint. You should also set the screen lock activity timeout, because if your phone is lost or taken from you, you can tell Signal, I want you to automatically lock the screen within 30 seconds of the last time I used it, or 5 or 10 seconds. It's another precaution that's worth taking to make sure that no one can get into your device. I also recommend under communication that you turn on always relay calls. That means when you make a call, the information about your device and where you're calling from goes through the Signal servers instead of going over a public network where somebody might be able to get access to it. In addition to the privacy settings, you should also go to the storage icon and take a look at how you've got your storage configured. Again, keep in mind, if somebody ever gets your phone, if you want to protect your private information, you don't want to leave anything on there that people can get to. If you flip this switch by delete old messages, you can set Signal to automatically delete conversations you've had. Just like if you had a phone call with somebody, when you're done, you don't have a recording of it. Don't keep a really long history of your text messages. And you can set that by the conversation length, the number of messages that you send back and forth. Definitely turn those two settings on so that you don't have to think about it. But at the message level itself, or I'm sorry, the conversation, you can highlight a conversation and delete it entirely from your phone. That way, if, again, somebody gets a hold of your phone, that conversation is gone forever. But within a conversation, if you hold your finger down on the specific message, you'll see that the trash can icon appears at the top. You can actually delete individual comments that you've made back and forth without deleting the entire conversation. My favorite setting, though, clicking the three dots inside of a conversation, is disappearing messages. I can tell Signal that after 5 seconds, I want the message to go away on my phone. And even though I'm going to click send and the receiver would have the message on their phone, as that timer ticks down, it's gone from my phone based on my settings. Now keep in mind, privacy is about trust. Anything you share with somebody else, you're trusting that they're going to protect that information in the same way you're protecting your own. You can't always control that level of trust, but you can control everything on your device and everything in your Signal app. So explore those settings to make sure that they're appropriate for what your privacy goals are. The last thing I want to mention is taking photos. If you're in a public space and you take photos that include people's faces, but you don't want to include those faces when you upload those photos to social media or share them within the Signal app, there's now an option in Signal to let you edit the photos, and that option creates this little blur faces button at the bottom. All you have to do is click that button. Signal's going to do its best to identify every face in the photo and blur it. But that's not always going to work. It may not be able to tell that a face is a face. It's going to do its best, but if you needed to go in and manually blur anything, if you have this option enabled, all you have to do is drag your finger across the screen and blur whatever features you think are appropriate. Click the check mark, and then when you go back into the message, you'll see that the edited photo is there. Again, anytime you use an app where you're concerned about privacy, It's your responsibility to configure those privacy settings to match your own personal risk appetite. So please continue using the app, check out these settings, and stay safe out there.